Now.
Will you wear the John Stockton shorts?
No.
One man.
I can't read texting text.
One microphone.
Some guys' midlife crisis is sports cars or motorcycles. I always wanted cleavage.
One talk show.
Glenn Beck on the Bill Post radio show. Here we go again. Oh, crap.
Oh, boy.
This is the Bill Post radio show. Now, here's Bill Post.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good day. How are you? It's nice to be here on a Thursday, and we have a lot to talk about today. Plenty things to talk about today. We'll have a guest on in a little bit, about 15, 20 minutes or so. That's Dan Sandini. He is the citizen journalist that we met a few weeks ago, who has been working on the mobs, which is very interesting in that Rush Limbaugh spent a good chunk of time last hour, I believe it was, with Ann Coulter in her new book that's out, talking about these demonic mobs that are out there on the left. And Dan has been investigating the ones that were at the Tea Party rally in Portland this past spring, as well as May Day rallies and other rallies, and also tying them in, possibly, because it could be the same people involved, into the flash mob protest, boycott protest at the New Seasons Grocery the other day. By the way, so that's there on the Facebook page. Also, the latest story from Dan that he'll be talking about today about these mobs and these protesters in Portland and their ties to PSU and the International Socialists Organization and more. So we'll be talking about that, but if you want to see the story, it's there on my Facebook page. I'm telling you, that's how it works. All right. I know that's probably Dan calling on the phone, so let me take my break and come back. We're going to spend some time this hour with Dan Sandini. I think this is crucial that you hear what he has to say. We've touched on it several times over the past week or so, but now he has more information for you, and we'll talk about that next.
He's a little crazy, but then again, you already knew that. It's the Bill Post Radio Show. Bill Post Radio Show. Now back to the Bill Post Radio Show.
All right, so I'm quickly bringing up websites here as fast as I can. I'm not really fast with this stuff, but I want to bring in our guest, Dan Sandini. Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Hi, Bill. How are you today?
Good. Don't mind me. I'm typing here while we're talking because I'm trying to bring up the website so that I know what I'm talking about with you, because I should have been prepared ahead of time, like professional people do.
That's okay. If people want to... while you're doing that, if you want to take a look at the parts 1 and 2 of the 4-part series that I'm working on the hateful counter-protest to the Tea Party, you'll find that at OregonTeaParty.org. And there's also backup material from the blog Daylight Disinfectant, which is out there also, links to that. So best place to go, best response times. It's also cross-posted over at Red County, but that server can be slow sometimes. So.
All right. Well, I've brought it up here on my Facebook page, and by the way, I just saw you've been busy. What have you been doing? You've been sticking stuff on there.
Well, it's become a full-time job almost, sort of tracking these people down, and I think that they just got away with a lot without anybody pushing back for a very long period of time here in the Willamette Valley, and now that a few people start to step forward, there's a number of other people that have come forward also with contributions. People who work security, for example, from the Tea Party who are writing blog pieces. We've got at least 3 other videographers that have contributed to the stuff that you'll see out on Daylight Disinfectant. I've got editors that are actually working on pieces for me too. So it's a group effort, and I want to encourage people too. I mean, part of what I'd like to come out of this conversation, if you want to push back on this kind of hateful rhetoric, the way to do it is to do what Andrew Beitbart recommends, which is, pick up a video camera, put it on someone, YouTube it, and then do a forensic analysis afterwards and start to write about it, which is, basically what I did.
Right. All right, there's a picture you just posted up where these guys are holding up a sign that says "Class War is on." Now, where was that, and what's the story behind that one?
Well, it's interesting. I put that up there because I think it makes us think about where we are. That is March 11th at the Pioneer Courthouse Square, and it's when I first started getting involved with this particular group of people. And what we have is a group of people coming down towards me, and the links to those videos are posted below it on your wall.
Yeah.
And what it was an organized student walkout, okay? So you had posters up not only encouraging college students to walk out of their classes, but high school students. And you will see in the videos multiple people. I sort of put it all together there, advocating that students are coming down, that they're going to have this student walkout from the high schools and that kind of stuff. And I thought, wow. And here you've got this sign that says class warfare is on with an exploded ordnance in the middle of a crosshair. And I said to myself, can you imagine if we did something like this at a Tea Party rally in the middle of Pioneer Courthouse Square? I mean, what do you think would happen?
Well, first of all, the media would be all over it like flies on dung, and everybody would be outraged.
Yeah. But where's Jeff Mates?
Yeah, exactly. Where's the Oregonian? Where's the
Willamette
K2?
Week? Where's Dennis down at trying to think of the Elder Mercury? I mean, where are these people? I mean, and it just goes on day after day, and no one ever calls these people on it. And I think that, if you look out in the blogosphere, I know one of your commenters, I really try not to look too much, but these people hate me. And hey, look, I am a citizen journalist. I'm looking at what I see and I'm reporting it. And what your problem is not with me. If you don't like the fact that I've made a video and you can no longer escape the fact that it's not the Tea Party that's racist, it's you that's racist.
It gets
it's not the Tea Party that has homophobia, it's you that have homophobia. Yep. It's not the Tea Party making death threats, which we have on tape, okay? Yep. It's you making those death threats, and they just don't like that.
Yeah. What gets me? A lot of these rallies, protests, et cetera, have happened in Pioneer Square, and isn't that right where KGW's little studio is?
Yeah, it is. And, we were ignored on tax day. Not only was the Tea Party basically ignored by KGW. It's an interesting part of the story. There you have, one of the largest television, news agencies for this particular area.
News Channel 8. That's their big thing. All the News Channel 8. And yet what you get is this nice-looking guy and gal looking at each other going, well, what are you doing today, Sally? Well, I don't know, Bob. I'm thinking it's a beautiful day outside. Pioneer Square looks fantastic. Well, there's people out there with blood all over the place, and there's knives out, and they're shooting each other and everything. But other than that, everything's swell here. I think it's going to rain again. What do you think, Joe? Well, I think it's going to rain again, dear. What's going on with the Portland Timbers? That's news in Portland.
Yeah, that's great. It's
I mentioned?
I really don't watch television, so I miss a lot of this, but I can imagine that. It fits in, and it fits in another way too. If you watch those videos from the March 11th, there's 3 of them, and they're linked together, beginnings and ends. I really recommend it. They haven't got a lot of views, but there's so much interesting material in there. And every time I look at them from March 11th, and you will see Adam Sanchez in there, and I know that you want to talk about him.
Yeah.
But in the very first one, you have got a guy out there, okay, grabbing the megaphone, okay, and we can get into whose megaphone it is, okay, and who organized this thing, okay, and he grabs it and he advocates, violence against KGW by name, Bill, in that thing, okay, violent insurrection, okay, against the bankers, against KGW, against the jewelry store owners in the area down there. And people say, they really mean it.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Now, Dan, hold on. I remember, Justin, if I'm not mistaken, this was in March, right? You said?
It's correct. March 11th.
We played, it wasn't you guys' video, we played some kind of audio or video from this thing. I remember it was a kind of a fat, doofy-looking guy.
Yeah, we played it. I remember
where he had a megaphone. They were kind of like passing it around.
Yeah, because I remember them saying students are going to be coming.
Yeah, students are going to be coming.
It's probably my videos. I know they posted some of that stuff up there, too.
Okay, then maybe it was yours. I don't know where we got it, but we played it, and people were outraged at it.
Yeah, well, there's your. Go back and look at it again. And,
yeah.
You brought up Adam Sanchez in your dialogue with me earlier, and I was aware of the fact that he had done this flash mob thing, and I had looked at it briefly, and honestly, I have not gone back and, done a detailed look at that thing. But, there's your guy. He's right there in the Pioneer Courthouse Square on March 11th. So if you want to go take a look at the protests, which advertised having. I've got the flyer, by the way. I should put that up on your wall. I really haven't passed that around much, but the flyer for the event. I've got a PDF or a PIC file of that. It advocates students leaving their high school classes. Come on down and participate in the violent insurrection down in the Pioneer Courthouse Square. Only in Portland, Oregon, would that go by without anyone even blinking an eye, Bill. No one blinks an eye. And if the news does catch on to it, it bypasses the Willamette Valley entirely via the new media, okay, and collides with Beitbart.com, or it collides with the Blaze, and ends up on Fox News, and the people around here say, it's not really news.
Yeah.
But
all right, hang on, Dan, for just a minute, and let me take a quick break and come back, and let's dig some more into this, okay?
Okay, Bill.
All right, Dan Sandini, he is, again, a citizen journalist, just a regular guy like you and me, and he's been covering this, and he's been doing more digging and finding more and more and more about the protesters at the Tea Party rally, this March rally that happened, the May Day rally that happened. There's also the flash mob protest at the grocery store the other day. All of these things, and it's all being tied together, and we're finding out a lot of stuff, and I want Dan to continue to explain that to you. I think that you'll find this fascinating. Again, if you want to follow along with us, go to my Facebook page, The Bill Post Radio Show on Facebook. There's the videos, there's the links, there's the photos. Dan's posted all that stuff there for you. Join in with us and look at this. And I'm telling you, you're going to be shocked, absolutely shocked. And as Dan has said, nobody in the media is covering this. And we're the only one right now anyway. Okay? So we'll be back in just a moment with more from Dan Sandini.
Hey, stick around. We're just getting started. This is the Bill Post Radio Show. Here's more of the Bill Post Radio Show.
All right. Again, we're on the phone right now with Dan Sandini. Dan's a citizen journalist. Now, Dan, I've been looking at the videos and the links, and like I said, I'd seen some of them before. Let me go back for just a moment to earlier this week when we ran the story on the flash mob at the New Seasons grocery store.
Right. Right. I've watched some of it, and watching them do their dance in protest against various products that were produced in their mind in the Israeli-occupied territories. So they're they're disrupting normal commerce in a business owner right here in Portland. I would imagine costing him some money in the process, right? I mean, I don't know that, right? And B, they're producing a list saying, hey, don't do your shopping here for these kinds of items, So, but I don't know very much more about it. I've seen them doing their dance, which to me is eerily familiar to some kind of Mao dance or something that they're doing.
Well,
there,
Well, the thing that caught my interest was that one of our listeners did some digging himself and looking at things and found out that we found their Facebook page. It's PDX-BDS, okay? They had a Facebook page where they were inviting people to come tomorrow to a meeting, and the name of the meeting was, what do we do next with New Seasons, basically. And the person who is in charge of the Facebook page is Adam Sanchez.
Oh, isn't that nice? Yeah, well...
That's where I wanted you to tie it together. Tie it all together, if you would.
Well, let me see. Well, I mean, I can tell you what I know. And, I'm not a Glenn Beck conspiracy theory guy, but I can tell you what I know about Adam. And he is one of the leaders inside of an organization here in Portland called the International Socialist Organization, or ISO, which is a national organization, okay? To me, I mean, this is my own opinion, so this is editorializing here. It's microwave communism. That's what these people are doing. It's advocation of Marxism-Leninism. And, Bill, I am not a philosophy major or anything like that. And honestly, it's a blank spot for me. I'm a technical person, a well-educated technical person, but I did a little looking myself. And what Marxism-Leninism means, and calls for. So you've got an organization here, is the violent overthrow of the government with replacement with a dictatorship.
Right.
And it's not. So he's one of the leaders in that organization, and I know that he leads a Marxism study group, and I'm not sure whether it's still ongoing, but it was a weekly thing that meets Saturdays at the Chit Chat Cafe over on Southwest Broadway. So, you've got somebody who's very heavily involved in the ISO, and apparently he's in the first place. The first time I ran into him was this March 11th rally, and he's featured pretty prominently in those videos from the March 11th rally.
Now, what when we found that Facebook page, we thought we'd have a little fun because it was open, and you could invite yourself, and then you could post a comment. So of course I made the call out, and enough of us crazy right-wing Nazis, as we were called, which I thought was interesting. Being called a Nazi by somebody who's anti-Semite is kind of ironic, but anyway. They let us post our comments, but then Adam was deleting them as fast as he could, and then he finally posted something, and he called me a neo-Nazi right-wing whatever, and then he shut the Facebook page down. Gone. So we've now bombarded their website, which is pdxbds.wordpress.com, and evidently I just got a comment from somebody right away that as of this morning, all of my comments have been scrubbed from their site. And yet, here is the thing. One of the second article on the site was a story about censorship.
Exactly. Free speech, Bill. Free speech, but not for you. Okay, that's what they're on about. And I can give you numerous examples of how the ISO is perpetrating that exact type thing in events that are planned by them. Shut down. Don't have an intelligent discussion with the other side. Okay. Shut down discussion completely, and a perfect example of that. I'll take the conversation where it goes here, but at Pioneer Courthouse Square, okay, on tax day. Let's go to tax day on April 15th. Okay, you've got a peaceful tax day tea party. John Kuzminich, head of the tea party here, goes out and gets the permits for being able to use Pioneer Courthouse Square.
Right.
He lines up entertainment, national entertainment, country and western groups. Bring the kids, okay? It's that kind of event.
Yeah.
Peaceful protest. These guys come down there and, okay, let's put aside all the hateful stuff, the racism, the homophobia, all that stuff for a second. Let's go to the canned air horns, which we really haven't talked too much about, which I'm going to talk a lot more about in part 3 of the series, okay? But what they've done is they've purchased these canned air horns, which are basically aerosol cans with these horns on top of them, and you've got people with two-fisted, using these things to shut down so that you can't hear what the other guy says. So, and the reason why, and there was a law in Portland about using those in the Pioneer Courthouse Square, and everybody says, well, free speech. Everybody ought to be able to say what they want. Yes. Okay, but don't shut down the other guy's free speech, and that's why that law is there. Okay, and it's on the books for these guys to obey, but they just ignore it and shut down the conversation using these canned air horns. And it's that kind of tactic which really shows them for what they are. So when they turn around and call you a Nazi and you a fascist, okay, it's the fascists that are first people to shut down the First Amendment. Okay, and that's exactly what they're doing in that particular situation. So.
Yeah. Well, and you pointed out, I think last time we talked, that the Portland police did a pretty good job of keeping them back and all that sort of thing. But I really chastised the Portland police for allowing those air horns to keep going off.
Yeah, it was a difficult situation for them, and I really find myself in a difficult job there because really they had an angry mob in front of them. Okay, and air horns were probably the least of their problem.
That's
but
true.
Some of the stuff that I did not catch on video that will come out is the security guys who were working there, when the cameras were away, what these folks did, and they have named Neil Thomas by name for doing this kind of a tactic, is he would back up 20 feet from the line, okay, and they'd have their video guy, okay, there's a guy, Kevin Nelson, we have his name now, and I can post this picture up there too, red pullover guy, okay, he will video, okay, and they will make charges at the police line, and the police explained it to the the Tea Party security guy, that they're trying to get a reaction out of somebody, okay? And that's what the whole thing was about, is to get someone inside the Tea Party to have some sort of violent reaction.
And
so
then
of
they
course,
can film it.
And then, of course, front page Oregonian, Tea Party lashes out, that's what they're going for.
Yeah,
But they got, Bill, the interesting part, Bill, is they got none of it. Of all the videos I've seen, and I have really watched a lot of video from the Tea Party over and over again, not one example of racism, not one example of somebody making a disparaging remark against a homosexual, not one example, okay, of someone making committing violence or making a threat of violence. And we have all those things on the counter-protest. And I invite the people on the other side to look carefully at that. Take politics out of it for a second and look at the kind of discussion that you are facilitating, okay, in those videos from Tax Day.
I agree. All right. Do you still have time to hang with us?
I do. I can stay with you for one more segment, I think. Though. Okay.
I got to take a break. I'm 9 minutes behind, so.
Okay, great.
All right. Dan Sandini, again, a citizen journalist, and we're talking about this group out of Portland, and we'll talk some more about maybe who they're tied with, because it could be your tax dollars hard at work here.
He's not normal, but it's Bill. It's the Bill Post Radio Show. Now back to the Bill Post Radio Show.
All right, once again, Dan Sandini with us, and I see, Dan, you've got part one there of that March 11th rally. So, yeah, that's the guy.
It's the most damning piece.
Yeah, we played that, and we talked about it over and over here back then.
Right. Oh, that's it's good that somebody and if this conversation ends without me saying this, it would be a shame, but it's good that we do have people inside the media here in the local Portland area that are willing to pick up on this story, regardless of consequences, and actually cover it. So, there's a lot of people that pick up on these videos and play them on the air, and I'm just not even aware of it happening, Bill. And, of course, I wasn't aware that you were playing that back in March. I mean, we met, last week or the week before last.
Yeah.
So, but,
that's all right.
Yeah.
When I find things like this, I'm pretty quick to jump on it. And I remember this. I haven't even looked at this. I just see the picture, and I'm like, oh, I remember that guy. Because half of his speech, you didn't even know what he was talking about. Just stupid. Okay. This ISO, this International Socialist Organization, has a chapter, I guess you would call it, at Portland State University, right?
That's precisely what it is. It's a student chapter of the ISO. The president of that, as near as I've been able to determine, is Neil Thomas. He is the guy who you see featured prominently in the videos from Tax Day, giving the double middle finger, during the singing of the national anthem with decorated veterans on stage. A former Miss Oregon, doing the national anthem. He is the guy who yells out, shove the Constitution up your keister, I guess I could say on the air, or something like that. He doesn't say keister. Okay,
right.
So there are multiple Purple Heart recipients. Ty Rideau was on stage, buddy mine. There was a guy, I can't think of his name right now, but other decorated veterans that were up on that stage, and those guys had everything they could do to restrain themselves. Some of them are reliving what they saw in Vietnam, after Vietnam, and they're trying to. But yes, the student organization, they did. This is what we know. They did meet in their regular meeting the night before the Tea Party. The name of that meeting is something like Rehearsals for Revolution. It's billed as some sort of book discussion, which a lot of this stuff is. So it's Rehearsals for Revolution. Neil Thomas was there, and Adam Sanchez was there. Adam Sanchez did answer in the affirmative for the Facebook invite, but he was not there as near as I can tell, okay? And at that meeting the night before, they did make the announcement that the counter-protest was taking place.
Okay.
And I know from my anonymous source inside the ISO that there were two main organizing forces here. One of them was the ISO, and the other one was fill in the blank. He wouldn't say. I have assumed, and this is only my assumption, the preponderance of the evidence that I've seen, it's the anarchists. Okay. Which brings up talking about the anarchists. That brings up another great point about that particular meeting. So, which you've got at least, and you'll see it on the Daylight Disinfectant blog. one anarchist in that meeting. You'll see him masked and unmasked, same guy, okay? He was unmasked at the Tea Party, masked on May Day. Oops. I think he made a mistake using all the same vernacular one day and all the same vernacular the next day. Wears the same T-shirt in the park blocks all the time, and my guy knows him, okay? So it's kind of like, okay, well, you want to be an anarchist one day and a regular guy the next day? I'm going to put both the pictures up right next to each other and write what you did, okay? And that guy, who is not a socialist by his own admission, was in that meeting the night before, okay? But I don't know the full contents of that meeting. We only know a short period of time of what went on inside that meeting from a witness.
Here's the thing, and I'll let you go, Dan. The thing that I'm trying to say is these people are all connected one way or another. All these things, these disruptions, these rallies, these protests, these flash mobs, all these things, in a way, I think they're all connected, and we may not be able to prove that completely, but it looks like they are. The thing is, there's a part of me that says, stupid college kids, they'll grow up one day. But because I was, I was a radical when I was in college, probably compared to where I am today. But I don't think so. I think these people are in for the lifetime on this stuff.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so too. When I look at the hate in the eyes, Bill, I went to no nuke rallies on the Mall in Washington D.C. too, and there wasn't that kind of hate in my eyes when I was looking at someone with the double middle finger and the racist remarks and the homophobic remarks. Calling someone an H-O-M-O, an effing H-O-M-O right at them, okay, when you're standing there. And they're calling me homophobic? What is it? What was the chant they were using against us? Racist, fascist, anti-gay. Well, guys, go look at the videos yourself, because everything you've tried to put on me is on you. Psychology, Andrew Breitbart Psychology 101, folks. It's those guys. They are the angry mob. I think as we get towards the next set of elections, this is what the choice is. Bring it up to the big picture, right? Okay, I'm down in the weeds someplace, right? Bring it up to the big picture. You've got your choice. People who are out there listening right now, you can be part of the angry mob, okay, which is what Ann Coulter is writing about in her new book, Demonic there, okay? Or you can be part of the peaceful people who are willing to have a discussion on what the correct size of government is, what the right level of taxes is, and what the right regulation, what the right amount of regulation on businesses is, and have that sort of peaceful discussion with people. And that's the two sides of the coin that you're looking at: the angry mob or the peaceful discussion. And you choose which one you want. And I personally am not in that camp. You can make judgment for yourself watching the videos, but I don't think it's harmless rabble from the university. No, I think it's. No. Go ahead.
It's more insidious than that. Yeah, absolutely.
I think so too. Yeah. You're seeing people take over our institutions. That's what you're seeing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? That's what I'm saying. You're seeing these people take over the public institutions, and happening right in front of our eyes.
It is. I know. Listen, my kid is graduating from high school this week, and it scares the living crap out of me to think about him going off to college somewhere. So, because they're all the same. We could call out PSU, but I'm telling you, every college is the same. They're all doing it.
Well, some of these guys, I can tell you, some of the guys that we've had in this discussion today, they have taught inside of Portland Public Schools, I can tell you right now. And the textbook, I've been told by Greg Halverson, okay, who's been on conservative council with me up with Jane, that the textbook, okay, that they're using over at the high school, okay, in either civics or history, I can't remember which it is Howard Zinn. People's history, which if you pick that thing up, it's a piece of garbage. I mean, if you read it, it's this one-sided perspective on how Western civilization is the big evil in this world, and that before we showed up here, this place was nirvana, it's just not the case. Yeah. And that's what they're putting in your kids' heads when they're in the high school. They have taken over the curriculum in the public school system. So your boy's going to be going to public school, Bill?
I don't know yet, but he's graduated from high school, and the good thing is,
he's graduating from high school.
Yeah,
okay.
My son has been brainwashed by me, so don't worry about him. He's fine. Right. I'm just worried about when he's out of my house going to university. So yeah, all right.
Yeah, Dan, you should be. I think it's a legitimate concern for all your listeners out there. Pay attention.
All right, I know you've got to run. I'm way behind too. Dan, I appreciate it. We'll make this a regular thing, okay?
I love it, anytime you want to have me on.
All right, and you just go ahead and post that junk on my page. I appreciate that.
Yep, people, tips to daylight disinfectant at gmail.com, please.
All right. Thanks you very much, Dan Sandini. Appreciate him calling in and spending a lot of time with us today. We'll have a few moments now and into the first part of the next hour for you to call with your responses. What do you think? You, be the citizen journalist. What have you learned? What can you add to this conversation? 503-393-1430. Bill at bpshow.com. I want to talk to you next.
He's a little crazy, but then again, you already knew that. It's the Bill Post Radio Show. Bill Post Radio Show. Here's more of the Bill Post Radio Show.
503-393-1430, Bill at bpshow.com. I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on all of this. Maybe it was information overload for you. So, again, if you really want to get caught up, look, I think Dan's made some very, very good points, and obviously he's done some great investigative journalism, and he's just a citizen like you or I. There's a lot here that needs to be digested, and perhaps you need to take the time to read his stories. Well, I would suggest you take the time to read his stories, watch the videos, try to catch them in order. I know as he's posted them on my Facebook page, they're sort of out of order. You can go to OregonTeaParty.org and catch everything. You can go to Daylight Disinfectant, look for that. You can go to, let's see, where's his other site that he has here? Daylight Disinfectant. To see, there's a third site. I'm getting it. It's right here. It's right here in front of me. There's a third site. Well, anyway, I don't have it right here. But anyway, if you just go to my Facebook page, you'll find it. So go to my website, bpshow.com, click on Facebook, and get to my Facebook page, and then start scrolling through these stories. Read them in order. Dan just posted a phone number for you to call, the Vice Provost for Student Affairs at PSU. He's posted the video from March, videos from May, from April, from other times. It's all there. And you need to follow this story, get yourself up to speed on it, and then we can have a great conversation about it. 503-393-1430. Next hour, we'll be talking with Sherry Springer, the representative from SIO, about her cougar hunting bill that died, that there's some new news on it. And I want to hear from you on this story that Dan brought to us today. 503-393-1430, Bill at bpshow.com.
Hey, stick around. We're just getting started. This is the Bill Post Radio Show. Now back to the Bill Post Radio Show.
All right, when we come back after SRN News, we'll continue on this discussion with these crazy, just nasty protesters, and your calls at 503-393-1430, and we'll talk with Representative Sherry Springer.
The Bill Post Radio Show. Now.
What's the polite way of saying it?
The operation.
Yeah, where it has those things up there that women have bigger of.
One man.
They played that again.
One microphone.
He thinks you're funnier than I do. Well, you could at least fake it, couldn't you?
One talk show.
It's 2010. Rotary dial phones are out. We don't ride horses anymore.
This is the Bill Post Radio Show.
Glenn Beck.
That Bill, he stinks. I hate him. Did you hear what Bill Post said today? Whoa! That was crazy talk.
Hour 2 of the Bill Post Radio Show starts now.
All right, I don't want to keep this gentleman waiting any longer. He's been waiting through the break to talk about what Dan Sandini was talking about last hour. Here's phone caller Jacob. Hi, Jacob.
How you doing, Bill?
Good. Go ahead.
When I was a junior in high school, I took AP U.S. History, and we had 2 textbooks, and one of them was the textbook he was talking about last hour, Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got chapter names like The Socialist Challenge and The Empire and the People. And it's just absolute drivel. I've been reading a few pages of it because we had to buy it for the class.
Nice.
And
that's very socialist of them, isn't it?
I'm sorry, Bill, I can't hear you.
That wasn't very socialist of them, was it, to make you buy it?
Oh, no.
I mean, they should have shared it, right?
Yeah. It's talking about how America maintains a huge military machine that drains the national wealth. And during the class, stuff like that was presented as the unbiased truth. And that's what they're teaching in public school.
Yeah. It can get real depressing real quick. So you were just, were you brought up by your folks to know what was right and what was wrong? You just kind of took it that way, or did you figure it out on your own, or what?
Well, I have good parents that brought me up well, but I think that I can figure out how to think critically on my own and actually analyze facts without a book telling me what facts mean.
Well, that book is just an absolute pile. It really is. I mean, and I actually, I don't know, maybe somehow I missed that it was a current textbook. I didn't know that. That was news to me.
Well, it's one thing to do it in college where people are paying to be taught this stuff, but it's a whole other thing to have it in a public high school. Yeah,
when I was in college, I'll freely admit, because I think I've said it before. When I was in college, one of the most profound things one of my professors said to me, and he was an avowed communist. He was an actual, truly card-carrying member of the Communist Party. And I remember him saying, if you're not a socialist when you're 20, you're a fool. If you are a socialist when you're 30, you're a fool. He said that to me. And I'll never forget that. And so I was, like every other 20-something in college, I was, the government's horrible. U.S. stinks and the wars and blah, blah. And I was protesting at nuclear plants, and I was doing all that junk. And then, one day I woke up and I had, a house payment and a car payment and a kid and all these things. And I went, that was really stupid. I'm ready to grow up now. So, yeah, you're right. I paid in college, and I took classes that were socialist and communist in nature, and I liked it, and it was great and all that. But I was 21 years old, and I just, only had half a brain then. Now I have 3/4 of a brain. I think.
Well, I hope that you have a little bit more than that, because somebody's got to have a whole brain around here to tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. It's guys like Dan out there doing, just regular folks that are out there digging this stuff up. And, man, I really appreciate the work that he's been doing. And I just hope that like you, Jacob, that people look into these things and study this and have, as you said, critical thinking. And let's all study this and find out what's going on. And I think he made a great challenge to us all. Are we going to just let this go, or are we going to do something about it? As in, we're going to be peaceful, and we're going to ask the critical questions, but we're sure not going to stand around and shout and yell at each other, even though that feels good.
Discussions with me in class tended to end that way. I would make a point, and people would get irritated.
I imagine. Yeah, I imagine that didn't go so well. Well, Jacob, I appreciate you hanging on and calling and telling us about that, though, too. That's so. What high school was that?
West Salem.
Oh, well, there's your problem.
That was about the only class that tried to bill stuff like that as unbiased.
I know about you West Salem people, you snotty rich people over there with your nice new high school. I know about you people. You are capitalist dogs, you. We socialists need to take over that school. All right, Jacob, thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
All right,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, he's a smart kid. I think I met him back when he was in high school over there at West Salem, because my son and him wanted to bang heads on a football field that never worked out right. But that's interesting. That's interesting. Let me read a couple of emails that have come in the first hour, and then I'm really curious what your thoughts are on what Dan Sandini has exposed, in essence, with daylight disinfectant, and it's also on the OregonTeaParty.org, and it's also on my Facebook page. If you go to the pdxbds.wordpress.com blog, which is run by Adam Sanchez, the guy that's been running this whole show, or at least one of them that's running the show. It asks you to leave comments on stories. Well, you try to leave a comment, guess what? It gets wiped out. I've had several comments from people saying, nope, it's gone. They took my comments off. So they really believe in free speech over there at the old PDX BDS. It should be just PDX BS. Anyway, Robert wrote in, Bill, you should put out a call for one of your tech-savvy listeners to set up a WordPress blog with an address really close to PDX BDS for criticizing them. That would be fun. So somebody wants to waste some time with that, go ahead. Might not be a total waste of time. Might be fun.
I think you already got it named, PDXBS.
Yeah, that's it. Just type, that would be it. pdxbs.wordpress.com. That'd be good. Back to Portland. Yeah, I'd like that taken care of, please, by my health insurance. Andy writes in, Bill, I agree with Dan's statements about the dance. Oh, yeah, going back to the dance that happened at the New Seasons grocery store, I agree with Dan's statement about the dance appearing to be something akin to a robotic Chinese communist display. Let's all do the same thing as instructed. Do you think the dance MO is a way for them to appear harmless and playful? I wrote an email a couple of days ago to New Seasons commending them for carrying the Israeli products and agree, were I a shopper or store owner, I would be outraged by this disruption in my business. Again, at my Facebook page, I put the email address for you to write to the, I forget who it is, it's like the owner, I think it's the owner of the grocery store, and you can write them an email and help them out. Also, we have the phone numbers, and now Sid has posted the email address for the Vice Provost at PSU for Student Affairs. Her name is Jacqueline Balzer, and you can email or call her and let them know what you think. As Dan says, please read and watch Part 1 and Part 2 of his story. Then you'll know the full picture, and then you'll know what to say and write. But I'd like to know what you think about this. This is, this is groundbreaking. Look, you know what? If you're listening to this show today, I'm telling you, there is no other talk show in Oregon or America that's doing what we have done today. I'm not saying that to brag. That's a fact. No other talk show, because I know for a fact that Dan's talked to me. Nobody else is exposing what we're exposing here. And if you're listening to another show, then you're not listening to me right now, so that's sort of moot. But if you're going to other talk shows, and that's fine, it's a free country, do whatever you want, you're not going to get this kind of information. You're going to have to dig for it on your own. Why do that when I can give it to you right here? That's why I keep pushing you towards my Facebook page. You may not like Facebook. You may think that it's going to eat your brain out or something, but it is where you're going to find all these videos and blogs and websites and all these links and connections. Why wouldn't you want to use that? Okay, so it's there. And that's why we do this on the radio, because we want you to have the best information you can have. You're not getting it anywhere else. You see, every other show is still talking about Anthony Weiner. And every other show is talking about things at the United Nations and things in Yemen and Libya and all that. You know what? That doesn't affect me here. It doesn't affect me here in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. Maybe it affects you. It doesn't affect me. I don't care. What I care about is the fact that there are socialist, communist, anarchists, etc., banding together to take away my freedoms. That bothers me. And it should bother you. So that's why we're here. Please tell a friend. And let's spread the word. I'm telling you, you're not getting this anywhere else. Okay. Enough pontificating. The other hosts do that on their own. They don't need one more doing it. I'll just be Bill.
He's a little crazy. But then again, you already knew that. It's the Bill Post Radio Show. Bill Post Radio Show.
So we'll talk about that later on. But between now and then, I'd like to hear from you. What do you think about all this information? I know we've kind of like, bleh, and we just puked all this information on you of what Dan Sandini's been working on, and we kind of hit you with a lot of stuff, and you may be still kind of going, scratching your head and trying to digest it all. Well, I'd like to know what you think about it. Who's the racist? Who's the, and I don't even use the word homophobe, but if you want to use it, who's the homophobe? Who's the xenophobe? Who are those really? Are they Tea Party people? I don't think so. I think they're the International Socialist Organization, the PSU students and the anarchists that are disrupting these rallies everywhere. Were you there? Can you tell us what you saw, what you heard, and what your impressions are? And have you been examining these videos? And what conclusions have you come to? 503-393-1430.
Hey, stick around. We're just getting started. This is the Bill Post Radio Show. Here's more of the Bill Post Radio Show